Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to end the week of popular picks with Native Construct. Now, there are quite a few requests, kind of given by the nature of this week, highly requested tracks. But for this one, we have requests from Thor Anuth, Kelly, Kevin De Los Santos, Franco Delario, Eli Arnold, and Kevin again. Lots of recommendations, and people said that Mute would be the popular choice. There were a couple other ones that they kind of requested other than Mute, but Mute is the popular choice, and it is also popular in YouTube's search algorithm. So that's the one we're gonna do. It's I don't normally go with popular choice. Let's get this off the screen. I don't normally go with popular choice, but I do. That's what this week is about. Popular requests. Let's go on popular choices as well. Oh, jeez. All right. My hair's getting a little wild. Let's get into this. Oh, emo phase. Let's get rid of that. And, so this is Native Construct. The title, or the song is Mute. If I understand this correctly, it is the first track off of a concept album. So I'm kind of hope that was another reason I picked it. I kind of hope that this is a little more comprehensible than the few other times that I've jumped into the middle of a concept album and been a little confused. Though I also understand that as the first track, it might not be indicative of the album or the band's sound because it does serve as the intro, and a lot of bands like to work outside their wheelhouse for intros. So, with all those caveats, let's jump into this and see what we got. Blast beats and an orchestra. Can't stop that. Has a very theatrical presence to it, and I think it fits with the music. Singing from the back of his mouth, lots of projection, very theatrical. Wait, is this a transition? No way. Oh. Oh, band's getting in on the singing. Nice bass line. We've traded out the orchestra for a xylophone or an organ. That bass work is clean though. I'm so happy about it. From the point of view we did not choose, we are all broken. Really interesting flat melodic idea here. jazz guitar track. Digging that. Really interesting that the vocal work was actually used as a foundation for the guitar melody. It's not very often you hear basically vocalists doing riffs. Got a lot of tension building up here. Where we're going with this? I love the marching snare going on. Was not expecting a distorted vocal. Oh man, this song just opened up. Wow. We're getting very proggy here. Okay. So, assuming that that is just their most popular track and not necessarily their best track, I'm so glad I picked that one because now we can only go up from here. And of course, you know, it's a concept album. It ended abruptly going to the next track, yada yada yada. But holy jeez, I am here for everything they just did. The first, ideally it was like 70%, but I'm gonna call it the first half, was very theater. I could see that as a soundtrack for the opening of a rock opera or a musical. It had a lot of elements that fit right into it. If you told me that this was a rock opera and that there's actually a stage show production going with it, I would not even bat an eye. I would believe you right then and there. It has a lot of the elements. The singer, it would not surprise me at all if he has a background in theater, especially theater singing. He exhibits a lot of the traits that a singer would be trained in to do that. But that's only one piece of the sound. It's an important piece of the sound. He is very forward in the mix. He's very prominent. He's what a lot of people are going to latch onto, and he has a theater sound. The xylophone and orchestra only add to that, but the whole composition has a very theatrical element to it. Not like movie theatrical, but like theatrical plays, musicals, that kind of thing. And I loved every bit of that. The melding of prog rock and orchestra just It was beautiful. But oh my jeez, he came in with that growl. I think it was a fry. Came in with the fry. The guitarist kicked on the distortion. The drummer ramped up. The guitarist started shredding, and they had these wild rhythmic ideas. And I mean, they turned into a heavy version of Rush for like a minute and a half out of nowhere. Wild stuff. Wild stuff. I will be showing this song to anyone who has ears for the next week. I'm gonna be like, check this out. It's just that song is wild. And the thing is, it's so masterfully paced because they've only got 6 minutes. They 5:59. I mean, that's like just shy of the 6 minute mark, and they're trying to fit in this theatrical orchestral sound. They're trying to fit in this more restricted, restrained, quiet. They got the xylophone in there. But they're also trying to tell this tale that ends with this eruption of energy. And they're trying to fit all this into 6 minutes. And they gave a lot of weight. Like I said, it's probably about the 70% of the former, the more theatrical rock style. Probably about 70 to 75% of the track is that one. And they really, really hold on to that before letting loose the eruption. And I think it was perfectly timed to just kind of get the listener sucked in, wondering what's going on, slowly building to it, and then doing that diminished area. They went into a really an unresolved chord progression, and they just kind of sat in there for that whole section right before when the color came on, or when it switched from black and white to color, when the heaviness came in. They sat in that pocket of tension for so long, even though they had already built up to it. Like, they were at the point where it's tipping, and instead of saying, okay, let's move on, they held on to it for just like another 8 to 16 bars. And I mean, just the pacing was just so good. And then, of course, they came in with all the musicianship. The drumming was just ridiculous. The shredding was ridiculous. The composition with all the proggy hard, abrupt stops, and the using silence against these odd rhythmic patterns of like odd notes, 3 notes, 5 notes. Something that doesn't fit inside of the 4/4 that they were playing in. Were they playing in 4/4? I don't know. Dude, I was so caught up in the music, I was not even paying attention. It grooved. And that's honestly all that matters. A lot of the time, I know I talk about time a lot on this channel, especially when it's very apparent that the band is choosing not to fit into a time. Which is what we did a lot of these last couple of weeks, was bands that are very proggy with the time signature. But when it comes down to it, a lot of the time it's just really about sitting in that groove. If you can count the music and appreciate the time shifts for what they are, that's always excellent. But I think a lot of bands really, really just want to focus on the groove, even if they're not sitting in 4/4, even if they're not in a familiar pocket. They want the listener to just kind of groove with them. And, maybe that's what was going on here. Like I said, I wasn't really counting time. They might not have been 4/4. But, it was just real groovy section with these odd rhythms. And I mean, dang, and then the singer just coming out. And I didn't see, oh man, we got to talk about the singing though. All the singers, or pretty much the whole band singing, uh, and they all are really good singers. I mean, they might not be amazing, but they were all able to stay in harmony with each other. When they were doing the droning bit, which I gotta get back to. I was gonna say remind me to tell you about that. Yeah, like you can talk to me right now. Yeah, they had to stay in tone with that for the whole bit. And I know recording it, they probably looped it. They recorded the 4-bar phrase and then looped it. But when they do it live, they got to do that for the whole section. And it's just, wow. The fact that they have so many people in the band who can sing in key well enough and actually have the synergy vocally. Some people, when they sing together, the voices, the way that their voices are, the way their voices sound, they just don't match up. And there's not much you can do about that. Sometimes people just sing and their voices are, they just line up a little better. The sound waves that they produce line up more efficiently to create a sound that's pleasing to our ears. Uh, our ears is kind of subjective. Everybody's ears are different. Regions have different ideas of what sounds appealing, yada yada. But there's this idea that people sometimes sing well together. They sound better together than a different pair of voices or a different trio of voices. And these three people just sound so good together. Their voices are distinct enough to create different colors in the musical layering, but they're similar enough that they just kind of meld in and they almost sound like a single voice. Um, it's just, it's crazy to find all three of those people and to put them into a band and for them all to still be talented in other ways. The singer has his various singing styles, whether it's the aggressive fry or the way in the back projected theater style, or more of the poppy style that he pulled out there like the 2 or 3 minute mark when it shifted to the softer style. The guitarist, the bassist, they're tearing it up on their instruments while singing in harmony. It's just, this is a ridiculously talented group of people. And the droning, the vocal droning section, really interesting. You don't hear that too often. It kind of happened in Meshuggah, and as far as I can remember, and my memory is not great, I'm sure someone will correct me. This is one of the first times we've heard it on the channel aside from Meshuggah, where the vocals were kind of part of the soundscape or foundation to another instrument. Usually, in a lot of music, modern music especially, vocals are a primary focus, where the instruments lay the groundwork to provide a soundscape for the vocalist to sing over. And in this part, it wasn't really evident at the beginning, but as the track built and built and built, and they continued to drone on the same notes, the same rhythmic pattern, the same melodic pattern, the guitar was actually the one that had more of a melody line. And they had three vocalists creating a floor for the guitar. It was really cool. You don't see that very often. So, yeah, I enjoyed that. That was good stuff. Yeah, just overall, great band. This is going up there with The Deer Hunter and Between the Buried and Me as concept albums I need to grab. That's just so good. So good. I think that's it for me. I don't know if I got anything else to say other than I need to hear the next track. I will probably do that as soon as I turn this camera off. This is just, oh man. This is another album that would be on the list for album reactions, definitely. Yeah, so let me know what you guys thought though. Am I crazy? Is this just for me? Does nobody else enjoy this? I mean, obviously a lot of people enjoy it. There are a lot of requests for this stuff. What do you guys think about it? Were you expecting that ending? They put a lot of work into building up a progressive rock song, and they come out with this progressive metal, just wild stuff. So I wasn't expecting that at all. Were you expecting that? If you've heard of this band, I guess give me recommendations, but also, I don't know. I want to do the whole album as a whole. So I don't know. Maybe don't give me recommendations. I don't know. I also heard that these are now a defunct band, and I'm really upset about that because there's no reason this band should not exist anymore. Jeez. That's like Human Abstract breaking up. I mean, there's just no point for such amazing compositional and musicianship to just disappear. Uh, but yeah, while you're in the comments, like, subscribe, ring the bell, all the good stuff, and I will be back on Monday, as usual, 11 a.m. Y'all stay safe and have a fantastic weekend.